Can the Prime Minister confirm that the Morrison-Joyce government's so-called plan for net zero comes with net zero modelling, net zero costs beyond 2030 and net zero legislation?
The Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I can confirm that our plan for achieving net zero emissions by 2050, Mr Speaker, the extensive plan that we've released, Mr Speaker, will achieve that, and we'll achieve that, Mr Speaker, by backing the decisions that Australians are making, particularly across our corporate sector, across, Mr Speaker, our scientific community, that understands the technological changes that will take place and that we will fund and support through the low emissions technology roadmap, Mr Speaker, and the many other initiatives that we've outlined as a government. That is what gets us to net zero by 2050. What doesn't get us there, Mr Speaker, is taxes and mandates and laws telling people what to do and what they can't do, Mr Speaker, on their farms, in their businesses, in their factories, in their homes, Mr Speaker. That's not what our plan does. The reason Labor doesn't like our plan, Mr Speaker, is because there's no taxes in it. They don't like our plan, Mr Speaker, because there's no mandates telling people what to do and regulations trying to control their lives. That's why Labor doesn't like our plan, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, our commitment was set out at the last election. We said we would have a 26 to 28% reduction by 2030. The Labor Party said 45% was the emissions reduction that should occur by 2030. The Australian people rejected that, Mr Speaker, but we note today, on the same logic that those opposite often put on those on this side of the House, today the Labor Party supported the member for Ringa for a 60% reduction.
No, just say
a 60% reduction, Mr Speaker.
If the Leader of the Opposition can resume his seat, I was about to intervene. As I've made clear on numerous occasions, the Prime Minister needs to be relevant to the question. He wasn't asked about alternative policies. I've been lenient in terms of comparing and contrasting, but just to be very clear, it's not an opportunity to talk about what was voted on earlier today in terms of alternative policies.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. So, the building blocks of the plan which we outlined yesterday, Mr Speaker, the emissions reduction fund, some $2.5 billion, the top-up of that fund by a further $2 billion, the delivery of Snowy 2.0 at $1.4 billion, Marinus Link, Mr Speaker, the energy efficiency improvements, the grid reliability fund, some $1 billion on energy generation, storage, transmission and grid transitions, the hydrogen industry development plan of $1.2 billion, the carbon capture and storage hubs, which we believe, Mr Speaker, on this side of the House, Labor is voting against carbon capture and storage, Mr Speaker, in this parliament, the ARENA funding of $1.4 billion, continued funding and an expanded mandate, the gas-fired recovery projects, the King Review safeguard mechanism, Mr Speaker, the international technology partnerships, some $565 million, with India being added to those, Mr Speaker, with Japan, the United Kingdom and others, Mr Speaker, Germany. So these are the initiatives the government is undertaking to get to net zero by 2050. We still don't know what their 2030 target is, and they don't have a plan for any of it.